well, first, as we're doing that, welcome to Richer Than God, this amazing Zoom call with myself, Donna Salemink, and Julie Merwin. We're both certified access consciousness facilitators. And I personally hope that you enjoyed the graphic. I made it myself and I thought it was hilarious. And so I hope you did too. Let's see, are you able to do speaker view? Did you get that?
I can't seem to get it to happen. So hopefully it records with just speaker.
Okay. We are going to put this on YouTube just so you guys know. But yeah, so richer than God, isn't it the best topic ever? Julie, do you have anything that you want to introduce or say as we're just getting rolling?
Well, here's what I would say is, well, to start off, I know some of you may or may not have done Access before, so we'll probably be using some tools and processes, and you may or may not have heard them before. So if you have never heard the clearing statement, you'll hear us say all these weird words, and it's just a way to clear the energy, sort of like a magic wand to change things in your world. And you can look it up on the clearingstatement.com. There it is. Ta-da! So if you're like, what is that weird stuff you're saying? That's where you find out what it is and what it all means and how to use it. So, but I think you guys will get kind of the gist of it. Anything else you can think of to start off?
No, just you guys welcome Puerto Vallarta. That's awesome. If you do have questions or things that pop up, please put it in the chat. You can also raise your hand. If you want to come off mute and ask us a question, you're welcome to do that. So maybe we can start with some of the responses to how rich would you have to be richer than God? Because I think they are awesome and hilarious, and they just bring up so much stuff for people. Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay, so we have, let's see here, we've got infinite amounts and more. We've got a godzillion, which if you don't know, a godzillion is a number so big that not even God can calculate it. Some people couldn't come up with a number. Somebody said, I love this answer, I would have to have 1 penny to be richer than God. And I just think that's great, because it's like, does God actually even have any money?
Right.
So it's like, how many of you guys decided that God was super rich and that you could never be as rich as God, but like, does God actually even have money? And does that make your head spin a little bit? So everything that brings up and lets down, would you guys be willing to destroy and uncreate all of that?
Yes.
Cool.
Right and wrong, good and bad, all 9, pod poc, shorts, boys, povads, and beyonds. And that's the clearing statement if you've never heard it before.
Yep. Let's see, we have another answer of $1 million. We have infinite amounts. So $5 million, haha. So lots of fun answers to this question. I guess I would like to invite you guys to play in a space that is non-cognitive. So money is this crazy reality that we try to make very, like Julie and I were talking earlier today about significant. We try to make it very significant and very cognitable, which is kind of the exact opposite of who we all are as beings. We're actually super magical. And so thinking and cognitizing and being magic don't necessarily jive. Will you say more about that, Julie?
Sure. So the more you think about things, the more you sort of polarize it, right? And so your point of view creates your reality. And that's all the right points of view and all the wrong points of view and all the things you think are real and true. And they're not necessarily. So the more you think about it, the more significant you make it, the more solid you make it, the more real you make it. And there you are stuck in your limited reality with money. So everything that brings up, can we uncreate and destroy it all?
Yeah, right and wrong, good and bad, pod and poc, all 9, shorts, boys, povads, and beyonds. So it's so great because it's like, just the title of this class, it's like richer than God. It's so insignificant, but I could perceive a lot of people making it very significant. So it's like, how many lifetimes have you tithed to the church, tithed to God, decided you lost all your money, decided you gained all your money, or made any decision that is still sticking you and limiting you in this particular lifetime?
Mhm.
Woo! So everything that is times a godzillion, will you uncreate and destroy it all?
Yes.
Yeah. Right and wrong, good and bad, all 9, pod pot, shirts, boys, povads, and beyonds.
And are you okay? So here's something, like, let's just pretend that there isn't a God. And I know that's going to ruffle some feathers. So whatever your religious beliefs are, just for 2 seconds, will you entertain the idea? Let's just say that God didn't exist and all you had was choice. Would you, it's like, how much do you not get to choose money because it's up to God? I can't even make words for it. I had all these brilliant thoughts today, and now I'm brain dead. So everything that brings up and lets down, can we uncreate and destroy it all?
Yeah. Right and wrong, good and bad, all 9, pod pot, shorts, boys, povads, and beyonds. Along those lines, I was looking at, we have an advanced how to become money workbook coming up, and I was looking at our post, and on there it talks about how money is just energy. Like, so most of us define it, it's like money is cars, or money is houses, or money is an exchange of energy. I wish I could remember it verbatim, but and in reality, money is just energy, and so are you. And so in that sense, it's like the way I look at, if we call it God, it's more just energy. And so we're all energy. And if you don't make it significant, because like, God doesn't take points of view, energy doesn't take points of view, it doesn't limit things, it doesn't stop things from showing up. It's just energy. So energy is only limited by the points of view we take about it. So how many points of view do we have about what's good energy, what's bad energy, and how you can or cannot receive money as well, right? Because it's like, what's good money? What's bad money? How do I make it? How do I not make it? What's the right way to make it? What's the wrong way to make it? Everything that is, can we uncreate and destroy it all?
Yeah, good one, Julie. Right, wrong, good, bad, pod, poc, all 9, shorts, boys, povad, and beyonds. Yeah, if you, I'm not even going to try to talk. Keep going, Julie.
Well, how about this? What's coming up for you guys? Does anybody have any questions? And you can unmute yourself if you want. Anyone?
Yeah, so should I raise my hand first?
Oh, it's okay. You're fine.
Yeah, so I had the realization, I think yesterday, that I made a decision that made money difficult for me, and that was false, if that makes sense, or if it was like it was an invention, because it put me in a situation where, like, it doesn't even make sense. Like, I am what do you call it, like, giving more energy than I am receiving back monetarily. And so it just didn't, like it's I feel like I guess so. I guess that's not a question really, but it is something that I kind of came to the awareness of the other day, is that I'm like, oh, like now I did it again, or
I did it again.
I did it again. Or it's just like I feel like I'm still just like buying into my family's story that, like, money is very difficult, that you have to work really, really hard for money, that money, there's always like a scarcity around it. So yeah, I guess that's not a question, but it's something that I came to, of like, oh, okay, Like, I mean, I've been working through many things for a while, but I'm like, oh, well, here's another one.
They just keep on coming.
Yeah, really. It's just like, I mean, you know, my situation in the last couple of years, like I worked through a lot of different things, and it seems like once I feel like I shed something or I uncovered something, and it's like, all right, I've mastered that, something else comes, and I'm like, oh, surprise, there's something behind it, like
Right.
something else is in the works. Yeah.
Cool. So, couple things. Great awareness, by the way.
Yes.
And so one of the tools we have in Access is this tool of who does it belong to?
Mhm.
So it's like this. So 98% of your thoughts, feelings, and emotions and points of view don't belong to you, right? And that includes all the money points of view.
Mhm.
So how many points of view do you have of your family that you bought into?
I feel like a lot.
Right.
I don't
And
know.
I'm asking everybody, but you know, you're up on the screen, so, but you guys can kind of check into your worlds too. So it's like, how many points of view of your family have you bought into that aren't actually yours? And so, oh, little detail, how does this work? So when you ask who does it belong to, if it lightens and lifts off, or anywhere in your universe gets a little bit later, it's actually not yours. And you just return it to senders with consciousness attached.
Mhm.
And if it stays the same or gets a little bit heavier, then maybe it's a point of view you took or something you bought into a long time ago and you've just solidified it into your reality. And in that case, you can just use the clearing statement. So you pock and pot all that. That's the short way to say it. So all those weird words that we use when we do the clearing statement, you can do that. So, so let's do this. So for everyone on here, how many points of view do you have of your families that you've bought into? And everything that is, will you destroy and uncreate it all?
Yes.
Yes, right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys, po-bads, and beyonds.
Cool. And return it all to senders with consciousness attached. Wow. Cool. And then how many points of view have you bought into that are actually just the people you work with, your friends, people you interact with, people you've never even met? You just happen to pick up the vibes and go, oh yeah, that seems right. Seems like how everybody else is doing it. I guess I'll do that too. But how different are you? So everything that brings up, can we uncreate and destroy it all?
Yes, right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys, po-bads, and beyonds.
Cool.
The other thing too, which is actually really brilliant about bringing up family, Inez, and by the way, it's nice to see your puppy dog. I haven't seen you for a while, and the doggers too. I love all the animals that come to Zoom classes too, because what do animals, first of all, what do they know about money? How many times have you thought in your life, God, I wish I could just be like a cat. They don't have to work for their money. Like they just get to be.
They just receive.
They just receive. Like I want to be like that too. I don't want to have a job. So everything that brings up and lets down, can we uncreate and destroy it all?
Yeah. Right, wrong, good, bad, all nine, pot, pock, shorts, boys, po-bads, and beyonds.
But the other thing is that with family, it's like every class facilitates, and every title of every class I've ever done facilitates something different. And having God in the title of this, it's like, how many of you guys have family as your false God? How many false gods have you had? And well, while we're doing these clearings, just so you know, this doesn't just account for this lifetime, it accounts for all lifetimes. So let's say back in the 1500s, you were idolizing false gods, and that was like really bad with your religion or something, or who knows. We have all these twisted up things that get to us from different lifetimes. So how many of you guys have family as a false god? And that's the God that you'll never be richer than. How many of you will have vowed to never be too rich for your family? And everything that is, will you actually revoke, recant, rescind, reclaim, renounce, denounce, destroy, and uncreate all of that times a godzillion?
Right and wrong, good and bad, all nine, pod, pock, shorts, boys, po-bads, and beyonds.
But your false gods might be even more than that. How many of you guys have the false god of this reality? So it's everything you see going on in this reality monetarily. I think someone was asking about, I don't know, the the stock market crash of 2008. How many of you guys have the stock market as your false god, that you'll never outcreate that? How many of you have your job or your career? I mean, this is like kind of a big topic that I don't know about you, Julie. I didn't see this one coming at all. It's always a surprise to facilitate a class. So all the false gods that you will have vowed to never outcreate and never be too great for, will you give that up now? Even your Indian chiefs and your gurus? Cool. So everything that doesn't allow that, destroy and uncreate.
Right and wrong, good and bad, all 9 podpoc, shorts, boys, poveds, and beyonds.
And then the other thing I wanted to say, based from what you said, Inez, from your question or comment, was you said something like, I've done a lot of work with money. Like I've already done a ton of work. And how many of you guys have done a lot of work already around money? Like maybe taken financial courses, maybe you have done a lot of access clearings. Maybe you've done, I was in the metaphysical world pretty greatly before I found access consciousness, and I was doing like aura fluffing and cleansings. And like, I've done so many different things around money. So it's like, so I'm going to try to draw a little parallel here. God, in a lot of the ways that people look at God is like, it's the answer, right? Like once you die, then you go to heaven, you're taken care of. You don't have to create your life anymore. You're fine. It's the end point. It's the conclusion. And when it comes to money, anytime that you've made a decision that you've already done all the work and you don't have to create anymore, is actually one of the places that you stop yourself from out creating yourself. So everywhere, anything any of you have done, I just felt all of your heads go blank. Everyone was like, we're fried. What if there's never a place that you're never going to arrive? What if you're never actually going to get to heaven? What if you're never going to get a relief or a release from being conscious and actually having to create your life? And what if money is one of the things that you actually have to create as well? And I'm sorry, because I feel like some of you guys hated hearing that. So everything that brings up and lets down, can we uncreate and destroy it all?
Yeah. Right and wrong, good and bad, all 9 podpoc, shorts, boys, poveds, and beyonds. Yeah. While you were talking, I was also thinking about like how many lifetimes have we been like priests or monks and sworn off money?
Oops. I've done a lot of those.
Because money's evil, You're not allowed to have it. It's bad stuff. It'll make you a bad person. So everything that is, can we uncreate and destroy all that?
Yep, right, wrong, good, bad, podpoc, all 9, shorts, boys, poveds, and beyonds. And on that note, how many of you guys have been shysters taking the tithing collections and actually stealing from them? That's like Julie apparently did that in one lifetime. We have a couple hands in the air. So in case you don't know and have never heard this, as an infinite being, there's nothing that you have not been or done in some lifetime. And so a lot of times we will do these things that are like hideous, like steal from the tithing pole. And then we'll vow, I'm never doing that again. I'm only going to be a good person. And then you do, like Julie talked about, polarity. Then you're doing the opposite side of the coin, trying to prove that you would never be horrible or awful or do anything terrible, vicious, mean, or awful. I can't say awful enough, apparently, with money. So how many of you guys are proving that you're not shysters this lifetime by making sure you will never have enough money?
Everything that is. Can we uncreate and destroy all that?
Yep.
Right and wrong, good and bad, all 9 podpoc, shorts, boys, poveds, and beyonds.
Yeah. So Krista, you're asking, or Charlene, I don't know if you want to come off mute. You're welcome to. Do you want to talk about the fearful and the money and fear? And you don't have to. There's no pressure. It's just if you want to. Or maybe she's not even here anymore. I don't see her. Okay. Krista, you said where you feel like you might lose people by having money. Do you want to come off mute and talk about it?
Sure. Yeah, that was an awareness that I had
little earlier this afternoon, like stuff was just coming in. So I have like all these notes. But I was
Awesome.
like, oh yeah, like I used to have that fear of, you know, if I have money, then I'm gonna lose friends, like, and family, and you know, and I've had that happen, specifically in my family, where they don't have a lot, and I do pretty well, where they treat me different, you know. So there is that little fear piece that, wow, if I excel and get really big and just bring in all this abundance, like I won't have a lot of those relationships, which is okay. But yeah.
Boom. Go ahead, Donna. You look like you were about
Okay, well, I was waiting. I was giving you a moment. I'm like, I have a feeling we're vibing on this one, but it's
Yeah.
like, is that fear that you're aware of, is that your fear or their fear? Truth.
I think it was a little mixture of both. Like I kind of cleared it earlier, but like for myself, but it was just something that like I feel like other people on here might also be holding that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, thank you for that. It's yeah, so first of all, fear is there's two different things that can happen with fear. It can be a distraction from who you really be, but it's also a lot of time, well, a bunch of different things can happen with fear. But it can be like it can be a distraction from you actually creating your life. It can be excitement that's been misidentified. I just cannot talk today. All afternoon it's been like this.
Misidentified, misapplied.
Yeah, it's an energy that is kind of close to excitement. So a lot of people, when you're a little kid, you get excited about something and you're just like, and your parents go, don't be afraid, honey. And so then you start thinking that sensation is fear, but it's actually excitement. So it can be that. And then fear also can be not yours. It's like, as an infinite being, would you ever be actually afraid of something? So you can be trying to take that out of other people's realities, because what might happen if you get too rich to their world? So like all of you guys right now, consider, let's just play one of my favorite things to play with lately. And I'm sorry if you've heard me say this, if you've been taking classes with me at all lately, you've heard this a million times, but let's play with $1 billion. So let's just say right now, you all got a check for $1 billion. And so you paid off all your debt, because that's more often than not the first thing that people want to do. They pay off all their debt, pay off your house, you whatever, buy the car, whatever it is that you are indebted to. And you still have, $900 million left. What would happen to the people in your life? So how many of the people in your life would be jealous and envious? How many of the people in your life would judge you as deserving or not deserving it? How many of the people in your life would start controlling and telling you what you need to do with it? And the billion other things that the people in your life would do. How many of the people would judge themselves? They should have got it. And so how often do you get on the cusp of having too much money and being richer than God, get aware of everybody else's universe and go, fuck that. That's a big, hairy, nasty ball of wax. Excuse my language if you don't like the F word, sorry. I'll probably say it more in the call, so my apologies in advance. But yeah, how many of you guys get aware of that thing and then go, I'm not doing that because it's going to disrupt the world too much? And everything that brings up and lets down, will you destroy and uncreate it all?
Yeah. Right, wrong, good, bad, all 9, podpoc, shorts, boys, poveds, and beyonds. So part of receiving more money is also being willing to receive the judgments people have of you when you have more money. And so what does it mean to receive? It's where you don't resist and react, and you don't align and agree. It's just an interesting point of view. It has no solidity to it. So how many points of view do you have about what would happen if you had way too much money And what would people think of you? So everything that brings up, can we uncreate and destroy it all?
Yep, right, wrong, good, bad, pod, poc, online, shorts, boys, poveds, and beyond.
Cool. Trying to see what's in the chat here too.
I guess I would invite you guys to all be richer than God, richer than your false gods, richer than your family, and be so rich that you actually do disrupt people's realities. Like, is it really that kind to be poor and never instigate somebody into looking at their own life? Like, if you had that $1 billion, how many of the people in your world would have to actually start looking at themselves and what's possible for them to create? So are you actually really being a kindness to people by not having too much money? Or are you allowing mediocrity to exist on planet Earth? Are you actually contributing to mediocrity by not being as rich as you should and could be? So everything that brings up and lets down, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Woo, that was a good one.
All right, wrong, good, bad, all 9, pod, poc, shorts, boys, poveds, and beyonds.
What if the people in your life are truly capable of creating a ton? And if by you not being willing to be so rich that you inspire them and instigate them into looking at what they can create, what if that's really, what if you could turn that around today? And everything that doesn't allow that, will you destroy and uncreate it all?
Right, and wrong, good and bad, all 9, pod, poc, shorts, boys, poveds, and beyonds. Yeah, so what if you made people uncomfortable enough to instigate them to grow? In whatever direction, whether it's money or anything else. So I noticed this, and I noticed this in lots of different areas in my world, but in particular, there was one day years ago that I was practicing yoga, and I had a few of my, I teach yoga as well. So I had a few of my yoga students come up to me and be like, oh my God, you have an amazing practice. And I could feel myself instantly shrinking because I didn't want them to feel bad about themselves or make me greater than them. And I realized, you know, it was like, well, you can't really invite people to more if you're trying to be less than them. It doesn't work very well. So how many of you have done that, whether it's with money or anything else? Yeah, cool. So everything that is, would you give it up?
Yep, right and wrong, good and bad, pod and poc, all 9, shorts, boys, poveds, and beyonds. Man, I know that so well. I have done less than so many times in my life to make the other people in my world feel comfortable. And it's really been lately that I'm like, why? I'm not comfortable. They're not comfortable. They're miserable. And I'm just listening to their misery. And I'm miserable. How is this making the world a better place? Like, oh, it's not. It's time to get too wealthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what invitation can we be if we're willing to be wealthy?
Yep.
And anything that doesn't allow for that to show up. Can we uncreate and destroy it all?
Girl. Right, wrong, good,
Yeah.
bad, pod, poc, all 9, shorts, boys, poveds, and beyonds. The other fun thing that this is like a direct invitation from Access Consciousness that I've heard other facilitators talk about. Excuse me, but it's like, look around at the state of our world. You know, I think somebody was messaging about, you know, the stock market crashes and men and women and money and the wars and like how what's happening with corporations and what they're doing with the climate and blah 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 blah. And it's like, if you were a bajillionaire, wouldn't you just buy out Bill Gates? Wouldn't you just be like, hey, Elon Musk, I'm going to buy your company? Like, why are we not choosing that? Why are we all sitting around being like, we hate Facebook and or whatever it is that you hate in corporate America? It's like, what is the value in all of us spending our precious, magical, potent, powerful energy hating a system that's not working for us, rather than out fucking creating it and being so wealthy that we just buy it? So everything that does not allow you to perceive, know, be, and receive that and choose it if you would like, will you revoke, recant, rescind, reclaim, renounce, denounce, destroy, and uncreate, all of that times a godzillion.
Yeah. Right and wrong, good and bad, all nine, podcock, shorts, boys, povads, and beyonds. Right. And if you put all your energy on hating something, how much energy are you giving it essentially? Like you're allowing it to grow instead of going, yeah, interesting point of view. I'm going this way.
Yep.
You know,
Totally. And then there was in the chat, there's what the question, like, what's really wrong with mediocrity? And I don't know if you want to come off of mute, and I don't know how to pronounce your name. Will you pronounce it for us?
Just go with my first name, Lane. My last
Lane.
name is really
Okay.
hard to pronounce. Yeah. So I totally agreed with what we were just talking about out creating people and just like going your own direction. And I have fallen victim to like being stuck in a miserable place because I didn't want to make people feel uncomfortable. And I think I've gotten through a lot of that. Then I've also like, I've arrived at the thought of like, well, why wouldn't I just like, it's like okay to be wealthy, like let's do that. But then at the same time, I'm like, well, then I'm also saying that there's something wrong with being mediocre. And it's like, then how do we deal with that part? Like, is there something wrong with it? You know, it's like, I mean, I'd like to be more than mediocre, but that's like a belief I've adapted from our society. That's like, is there actually something wrong with mediocrity? Like, what's your argument on that?
no argument. Yeah, perhaps a different point of view though. So what if there is nothing wrong with being mediocre? It's just a choice. So anywhere there's rights or wrongs in regard to mediocrity, can we uncreate and destroy it all?
Yeah. Right,
Right.
wrong, bad, podcock, all nine, shorts, boys, povads, and beyond.
Cool. And then what if choosing to be wealthy isn't saying mediocrity is wrong? It's just choosing to be wealthy or choosing to be greater. It's not wrongness, it's just a choice. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like it makes sense, but it's like saying that it's greater like means that mediocrity is like less than. And like I mean I agree that being wealthy is greater than, but it's like, but like I don't know, to some people mediocrity might be like the goal.
It could be.
Like to some like monks, they would say that maybe they'd agree that like mediocrity is the way. It
Yeah.
is. I don't know. Just
And
something
so
to
that
think
works
about.
for them. Does it work for you?
I don't know yet.
Okay, cool. So maybe something to play with, you know, it's like, okay, does it work for me to just kind of be in this sort of middle ground? And if it does, awesome. And if it doesn't, then what else would you like to create? And when I say greater, it's not like this is better than that. It's just more expansive, you know? So greater in terms of like, well, I've got $10, maybe I could have $1 million. You know, not that one's right and one's wrong, they're just different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
also choosing for you does not, I think you're brilliant, Julie. I love co-facilitating with you. It is just a choice, and choosing for you is not choosing against someone else. So you can choose whatever you choose, and it's not choosing against someone else. The other thing is that, well, first of all, let's just look at what is mediocrity for a minute. Mediocrity is basically where everything is on a spectrum. I used to be a school teacher, in case you didn't know. I taught high school English, literature, and composition. So on the grading scale, it's always, the spectrum, right? It's the bell curve. There has to be, you know, everybody has to fit into that curve. You, when you're truly being you, as magical as you are, and functioning from the magic of you, you don't actually exist on a bell curve. you would break the bell curve. It would explode in your very presence. You to function from mediocrity, you have to place yourself in the realm of a reality that you're so far beyond. So it's like basically what we've all done for trillions of years is cut off our own arms, legs, heads, our spirit, our very being, so that we could fit into a place where we could exist and someone else could judge us, someone else could figure out how we do stuff. And that's part of what happens monetarily with us, is that we try so hard to fit in and make sense in a bell curve. But it's like, when you look at the financial world around us, does that work for you? Has it ever worked for you? Or can you identify some times in your life where just total magic has shown up? And I'll give you one tiny example. For me, I love to find money. Love it. A penny is like total magic to me. I'm like, oh my God, I found a penny.
That's
Me
so
too. I
cool.
pick up pennies off the ground all the time.
Yeah, it's super magical. That's like not mediocrity, but some people might judge it like, oh, you only want a penny. So it's like mediocrity is a different thing. The other thing that I wanted to say is that awareness and judgment are not the same thing. So you can be aware that somebody is choosing to be on that bell curve and to function from mediocrity. You're aware of it. It doesn't mean you're judging them. You're just like, wow, look, you're living in this human reality in this spectrum, and that's fine. I'm aware of it, but I'm not being judgy. I'm just calling it like it is. So those are two different things that are not an easy pill for us to swallow. Usually, if you're having an awareness, 99% of the time you think you're being judgmental. And the person you're judging the most is yourself, because you're like, oh my God, I'm being judgmental. I'm an asshole. But you're not, you're actually being aware. So everything that brings up and lets down, will you destroy and uncreate it all?
Right and wrong, good and bad, all nine, podpoc, shorts, boys, poveds, and beyonds.
And then one other thing that I think Julie said without maybe saying it explicitly is that consciousness includes everything. And maybe you even did say it explicitly, but
I didn't.
it's worth saying 100 times. Consciousness includes everything. It includes judgment. It includes mediocrity. It includes poverty. How many lifetimes have you? I remember the first time I went to a certified facilitators class in Venice, Italy. And I swear to God, there was a lady, like a beggar, and she just would come out of the alleys with a cup, and she would be like begging so dynamically. And I had so much resistance, and my whole world, I'd never traveled like to Italy before. My whole world was exploding. And we would like round one corner, and then we'd walk a couple blocks, and then she'd come out of another wall just begging. And I had so much resistance. I was like, I can't even, I'm going to explode. I'm going to die. Do I have to give her money? I was in so much reaction to it. And it's like, yeah, because how many times have I been a beggar, and how much judgment have I had against me for being a beggar in many lifetimes? So every place that you think that you're being judgmental, you might want to ask, am I aware of a past life, of something that I've chosen in the past? What if I could actually have levity with it? You know, like maybe I'll make a sitcom where I'm just a beggar. Maybe I'll make a new graphic where I'm just begging for your money, please. Everything that brings up and lets down, will you destroy and uncreate it all?
Yeah. All right, and wrong, good and bad, all nine, podpoc, shorts, boys, poveds, and beyond.
Okay, that's all I wanted to say. Julie, back to you.
Cool. Yeah, so consciousness includes everything and judges nothing. And again, it's funny that that's a great example, because it's like, well, when you resist and react to something, it's like you tend to create more of it. You draw it to you. And so it's like she keeps popping out of walls and random places. Hi, here's my cup again.
But she really did. Like, I'm telling you, I was like, does she have a twin? How many are there? Quadruplets. She's coming out of every random alley.
And how magical was she really?
There's so many
She could just pop out
passageways
of
though in
nowhere.
Venice.
And
That's
she's trying to
true.
be
There's
pathetic,
so
you
many
know?
secret passageways.
Yeah, she was coming out of every portal that existed in Venice.
So how about this? So how many of us have made ourselves sad and pathetic and weak, and we're really not? It's like, oh, poor me, I can't make money. I don't know how to do it. I never get money right. But how powerful are you actually? And have you flipped it around against yourself? So everything you've done to turn your power against you, will you destroy and uncreate it all?
Yes, right, wrong, good, bad, pop, pop, all nine shorts, boys, po, bads, and beyonds. By the way, a little hint for if you're on this call, you're never going to be able to do money right. You will never be able to do it, excuse me, by the same standards as anybody else does. It's never like, I will tell you that I have tried everything. It's like somebody, they'll be like, well, this multi-level marketing thing, I tried it. It never works for me. Anything that works for somebody else, when I try it, it just does not work for me. Why? Because I'm unique. And so are you. You're very different. And the way that you function with money, like one of the lies that people sell in this reality is that if you do this, you'll get this. If this, then this. And that's not actually true. By any means, that's not true. You might be able to pull some pieces out of that. You might be able to, but the way that you will pull together your financial reality is completely unique to you. You can pull things out of this reality that work for you, but you cannot copy or do anything that anybody else does because you're different. You're like so different that if Julie and I tried to give you a sense of how different you are tonight, your brain, you would explode.
If we could even do it.
Yeah.
I feel like trying to like define, well, not define it, but to even like try to put words to it just would limit it. So yeah. So it's like, well, what if you use some questions and like, okay, well, what would it take for money to show up for me? Easily, magically.
I mean, I'm sorry,
Are
I'm
you
just
even allowed to have it that easy though?
No, they can't.
No.
I mean, the other thing is like, if you look at the topic, like how rich is God? I don't know. I don't think God's working real hard to have all the abundance we think he has, or she, or whatever your notion of God is. Like, we're the ones that are doing the work down here. So it's like, if God can have money, just think of like how churches are tithing to God right now. Well, I guess it's Tuesday night, so perhaps not that much, but and on a normal tithing moment, like God's just hanging out being God and everybody's giving him money. Would you just be willing to be hanging out being you and everybody's just giving you money? Or would that just fuck your entire world up? Would that be too easy that you would just be like, no, I don't deserve it. This is terrible. Everything that brings up and lets down, will you destroy and uncreate it all?
Right. And I'm getting bad. All nine pod talk shorts, boys, provides and beyond.
And then I was going to make a sexual reference, but I won't do it on a God call. I'll be good. I'll just let your minds, I'll let your imagination soar. What was she going to say?
Cool. I did see your comment earlier, Jeannie, about that you noticed you just hadn't chosen money. Did you have anything else on that?
Oh. Am I on mute?
Nope, you're not. We can hear you.
Okay. You know, I've been working on this so long, and I don't know, someone said it the other day. Did you choose it? I think it was Dane, something about that, or Simone. And I muscle tested, and I thought I had chosen it, and then I hadn't. I hadn't chosen. I'm going, why wouldn't I not have chosen it? And
good question.
you know, I mean, I really thought I had chosen it. And it's really interesting because you know, it's new, but I noticed the other day too, there's a lot, you know, in the receiving part. I noticed when I came back to Salt Lake, which has been 2 weeks ago, oh, because it's too cold.
You were in Florida, huh?
I know.
Oh.
So I noticed all the things that people were giving me. And I noticed there was a lot of giving going on.
That's cool.
And things were showing up, and I was aware of that. And I went, well, how did I create that? How did I generate that? And I have been working with the walls down,
Mhm.
but I did notice a lot of things coming to me. And I went, well, that's interesting. So I wonder if I crossed over a hurdle that I'd had. Because I have worked on this for years.
Yeah.
So, but choosing, and I noticed it was different. Because when you choose, there's a whole different space. I feel a whole different space. Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Absolutely.
And so I have to keep going back there and asking, am I still choosing? And then noticing where I'm at.
Cool.
So
Cool. So are you still choosing?
I'm still choosing.
Awesome.
Yay.
I love it. I'm trying to remember because there was a bunch of things that you said that I pinged on different things. Oh, I know what it was. So what have you defined money as? Well, backing up a little bit. So a lot of us look at money like it's the coins or the paper money or, getting paid monetarily, but how much are you actually receiving money within other things, like the different things that people are gifting to you?
Yes. Simone brought that up. And I remember in one of her, how we can receive money through acts of kindness, through gifts, that gave me a huge awareness. So in the past, I've always defined money as dollars, etc., right?
Mhm.
And now I'm looking at all the other areas. It's not money. Wealth isn't just money.
Yeah.
And
Awesome.
that's really expansive when you really start looking at it. It's very expansive.
Yeah. Yeah. Because when you don't define money as monetary, like as the coins and the dollar bills and the things like that, you can receive a whole bunch more.
Yeah.
It's like you can receive all this other wealth from all of these other areas, whether it be energetic or it be, clothing people are gifting you or somewhere to stay or a car or whatever. And so again, if you take the definition of money out of the equation, how much more can you receive?
Yes. Yes, that was a big awareness for me.
Awesome. Cool.
And
So anywhere anybody else has done that, let's hit this real quick. Can we uncreate and destroy all our definitions of what receiving money is?
Yes. Right, wrong, good, bad, pod, poc, all nine shorts, boys, povads, and beyond.
Cool.
Yeah, that's a really sweet energy. And thank you so much for saying that, because all of our worlds would probably feel a lot softer, a lot easier, and a lot kinder if we were acknowledging just how much contribution we are receiving all the time. And we discount a lot of our magic because we expect it to show up as $1 billion. And when it shows up as a penny, we go, oh, it's just a copper penny.
It's not working.
It's my magic is broken. All I got was a penny. And so how much more magical could your life be? Like if you were really willing to acknowledge, even if you just took today and wrote down in a journal tonight all of the different things that showed up in your life, I bet if you were really honest with yourself, you would probably be blown away at how much magic you've received. But it's the exact opposite of the judgment of this reality that you've been raised in, to believe that success has to show up a certain particular way. That's the sweetest, sweetest energy. But also you raise a really good point, Jeannie, about like I chose it. We tend to do this. I just watched, I don't know if anybody did the Global Access Consciousness Foundation class, but for some reason I had to watch the Lord of the Rings trilogy in the evenings during that class. And I was like, oh yeah, it's the chosen ring, the chosen one, the ring to rule all rings, the one choice. I chose money this one moment. And so how come it's not all here? It's because in some areas of our life, we have to choose and 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 create and choose and create and choose and create some more. And that's this whole thing about like thinking there's an answer. You're going to get to heaven. God's going to take care of your problems for you. God's going to take care of it, rather than getting that you actually have to be the diligent one. You actually have to do some work sometimes, and you actually have to keep choosing. I know for me, when I got to Access Consciousness, my biggest problem, quote unquote, was money. Like I was raised with so much financial insanity. I was a single mom. I had so many points of view about money, and money was like the hardest topic for me. And so it is the area that I have had to do the most diligent work with. And it's funny because when you start playing with the access tools, the clearing statement, you will see magic show up immediately in some of the areas of your life, and some you have to be more diligent about. So it's like, if you are quote unquote having a problem with money or any area of your life, are you willing to keep choosing rather than being like, well, I chose it once, it didn't show up tomorrow. Fuck it, this stuff doesn't work. It's everything that doesn't allow you to be as diligent with the topic of money or whatever it is for you as you need to be to actually change your life and turn the Titanic around. Will you destroy and uncreate it all?
Yes.
Right and wrong, good and bad, all nine, podpoc, shorts, boys, povads, and beyonds. I think too, the acknowledging piece is, we often say in Access, acknowledging, because it's acknowledging and actualizing put together, so actualization is like what people talk about when they say manifestation. It's actualizing it into this reality. So acknowledging that you've created something, because then you get to have more of it. So when you don't acknowledge the things that have shown up and the magic that you've created, then you sort of shut off those flows.
Julie, can you talk about, Julie and I facilitated there's a book in Access Consciousness called the How to Become Money Workbook. I'm sure Julie would agree. We highly recommend this book. It's a workbook. It's something that I personally have done probably 100 times. And you go through the answers. Julie and I have been getting together for years and going through that book and the Advanced How to Become Money Workbook. But the last time that we facilitated that class, you said, Julie, you talked about, I can't remember what you called it. It was like some kind of journal, like an acknowledging journal, money miracle. What was that?
I just created a money magic journal. So I started writing down all the places that money had shown up for me as if by magic, or even more linear than that, just like I created it, so that I keep acknowledging it and I keep that energy flow happening.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because you start, and you could do this just for like magic in general, like magical things you've created, or you can do it specifically for money. And the more you start writing down, the more pops into your mind, because you're like, oh, and then I did this too. Oh, and I forgot about that, So it brings more and more to the surface.
And on that note, Missy, that's like it's really empowering, because you start to get a sense that you're actually the creator of your life, because you're like, wow, I acknowledged this and then it grew. It's almost like I watered the garden and then it grew. That's actually how powerful all of you are in your monetary life, that if you are willing to acknowledge what you're doing, you get to grow even more of it. Now, here's how this ties back into the title of our class. What if you're actually the God of your life?
We are.
What if you're not a victim? What if nobody does anything to you? What if you're actually the choosing one? And just sometimes you're dumb and you don't choose the greatest for yourself. We've all done it. What if sometimes you're choosing from stupidity? That's okay. We've done it. I've done it. We've all had many lifetimes.
We've all done cute, but not so bright.
Exactly. Cute, so cute, but not bright at all. But like one of the great things about even on this topic of acknowledging is like, sometimes you have to acknowledge, wow, I created the worst thing ever. I'm brilliant. I created a pile of doo-doo. Like or whatever it is. Like, I think I was talking about when we just did the How to Become Money Workbook. I had this weird, I'm a massage therapist now. I had a weird client, and I can't remember what the deal was. It was something like, he didn't tip me, but in my head, I thought he did. And I was like, I created this weird scenario out of it. And I was like, wow, well, that wasn't bright. I actually didn't, something happened, but I'm in my weird way, I'm trying to invite you guys to look at even the stuff in your life that shows up that you're like, oh, that's not so great. Just acknowledge like, hey, how did I create that? I could create that. What else could I create? Like, that's when you start to become the God of your life. That's when you start to get fully empowered. And the target of Access Consciousness, whether if you've heard it or not, is really to empower you to know that you know. And knowing that you know means that you actually get to have your power, you get to be empowered, you get to have your potency, you get to create whatever it is that you're going to create. And it's different for each one of us. And there is nothing wrong with mediocrity. There is nothing wrong with creating a pile of crap. There's nothing wrong with any of it. None of it's judgeable. I like to say, like, it's all a chance to get savvier. Like, oh, okay, I created that. Now what would I like to create? You know? I feel like that's like one of the great invitations of this call, is to be the God of your own life and to be the choosing one in your own life.
Right. And that puts the power in your hands. You know, when you acknowledge that you create all of it, even the crappy stuff, it's like, wow, what a grand and glorious creator I am. What else could I create?
Totally. And that is really something that I personally got out of the How to Become Money Workbook. Should we put a link in here somewhere? I'll try to find a link to that.
Okay.
Or Julie, do you want to find a link and put it in there?
That would be challenging.
That's
How
too
about we put
challenging.
it we can put it up in the follow-up email.
Oh,
that
okay.
we're
Yeah. Okay.
recording on.
That's a great idea. I'll make a note so that we remember that. How to Become Money Workbook. And just highly suggest you get it. It's like $30 or something. It's just get it, read it as often as you can. Do the questions in it, find a study buddy like Julie and I, like find somebody that you can just hop on however often you'd like to, and just read through that book, and you will get different awarenesses. Undoubtedly, you will, your monetary reality can change if you're willing to do that work.
Yeah.
And then, so that's an invitation. And then also we wanted to invite you guys, if people have asked, and I finally got over one of my money points of view, and we are offering the Advanced How to Become Money Workbook as a series starting on April 17th. And it's going to run Monday, Wednesday, Fridays for a couple of weeks, 9 sessions. But the exciting part of that, we'll have a registration link for that if you want to come. The very exciting piece of that, at least to me, is that we're offering you a class credit. So if you would like to come to it, there is a way for you to get a $300 class credit to apply to the class. And that is by telling us in any creative way, like what that will create in your world to have $300 of credit to pay for that class. So like you could write us a poem. I used to be an English teacher, so I haven't had a good poem in a long time. You could do a poem, you could do a piece of art, you could do sculpture, you could do a short story, you could make a video, you could sing a song, and just some way to let us know. It's basically about you claiming that $300. It's like a way for you to say, like, I'm worth $300. I'm going to put the energy into asking for a $300 credit. I'm personally super excited about it, and I'm excited to see your guys' submissions. But Julie, do you want to add to that or say anything else?
Oh, I'm just looking forward to seeing what people do and, you know, like what they play with and what they acknowledge and.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
God, you
it
could
feels
do
fun
an,
to me.
you could do an acknowledging poem or something. Oh my God, this is great. Also, this is getting me over my point of view. I read so many sappy teenage poems when I was a teacher that I was like, I never want to read a poem again. And all of a sudden I do. So there are prerequisites to that class. So you have to have taken the Access Consciousness Foundation class. We just had the Global Foundation class, so you could buy it online. If you weren't able to attend, you could get that in advance. And you have to have done the How to Become Money Workbook at least one time, minimally, but it's better if you've done it 5 times. It'll just make it easier, because we are going to go into a realm in this Advanced Money Workbook that's super non-cognitive. We're going to be accessing your insane mind, which is actually where all the limitations, the seeds of limits are for your monetary, what's creating your monetary reality right now. So we will have all the links in the follow-up email. We hope that you will come. We'd love to see you there. Anything else, Julie?
Think you got it all.
I think we got it. All right, then I think we're all done for the night. Thanks for coming, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Thank
coming to
you.
play.
Thank you.
Mwah.
Bye all.
Bye.